Okay, so this is my first video ever, and I am no professional, and I also have never done this before. But I've been trying to get flaperons set up with my planes, and I like this feature, and I'm trying to mix it in a Futaba 10J. What I did was I had this working perfectly on another plane, so I copied the programming to this new plane that I am setting up. What I like to do is have flaps with two separate servos for the ailerons, and then I mix flaperons so that I can have flaps. And what happens to me all the time is when I set a new plane up, sometimes my flaps go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to show you that in a minute too. But basically my programming is such that I put my model, and I'll show you my settings. What I do is I have one aileron on channel 1 aileron. In this case it's reversed to get the ailerons to work properly. And the second one is on channel 6 flaps, and I mix the two so that they work perfectly as ailerons. My ailerons are working right. I have left and right, but what happens is when I put my flaps on, they go up. So my other plane, they go down, and I finally figured out what I did wrong. But first I'm going to show you what I do with the flaperons. What I like to do is set my flaperons to auxiliary channels. I have nothing set. My flaperons, I put, let me get there, flaperons. So I have 100%, and sometimes I lower that a little bit. I don't need as much flaps. One of my other planes I have on the rate aileron 1 and 2, they're at 75%. For all of them, this is a new setup, so I'm starting out with 100%. And for the flap 2 and 1, I have plus 100 and minus 100%. One of the things you want to look for is the flap trim. I activate that and I have minus 50%. And my point is that I don't like the flaps to go up. I don't use up at all. So I want just flaps at neutral and down. So I set that up. Then I put 2 P mixes in. I do 2 P mixes so that one of them is the offset for the flaps, and I put that on channel, I like it on switch F, which on my radio is over here, so that I can, while I'm flying, I can turn my flaps on and off. I do nothing else in there. It's master is offset, is the OFS, and then the slave is flap. You can see that I like it when my switch is what I call down, but I believe that's up. And I like to put my flaps on like this. You can flip that if you want by switching the position to up if you want it opposite. So that's switch F. Then my second mix, I mix the VR, which is the knob, because I like to adjust the amount of flap, and I want 0 to 100%. So I can set the amount of flap I want, and I'll show you that in a sec. I do that also minus 50, as you can see, 50%. You can see also that mix is off when it's what I call down, but it's the opposite. I always heat that, and I flip the switch up, it goes to mix on. So that's all I set for there, minus 50, master VR, and slave flap. Now, so what I can do is set my flaps and then use the VR to adjust the amount of flaps. And it drives me crazy whenever I have this in reverse. And so what I finally figured out is I like to obviously have that reversed. And I finally figured out driving home in my head, I said, oh, I have the left and the right reversed. So you can see this is the left side, and I have that plugged into the flap channel 6, and the right side I have on channel 1. It has to be the opposite. So and I don't know how to pause and all that stuff because I'm not a video guy. So hang on one second. I'm gonna reverse these two channels. So hold on. Don't mind the scanner in the background. So now what I have is the channel 1 should be on the left side. Channel 6 is on the right side. And now if you'll note, the flaps are working properly. So that's what I found out. So if your flaps are going reverse, just switch the two sides and then you mark these. I use tie wraps and I mark, so when I plug this in, ready to fly, I put my wings on and I plug these together so that the channel 1 is on the right side, and the channel 6 is on the, the channel 6 is on the right side and the channel 1 is on the left. So now what you have is, this is the way I like to fly, and I can adjust the amount of flaps to 100%, and like I said, you can tweak that down and make it a little less. And now when you're flying, you don't have to worry about the knob. You just want to fly and set the flaps, turn them on and off. And switching the left and the right side doesn't affect the ailerons because they're both, as long as they're hooked up and they're going in the correct direction, it doesn't matter which side. But to get the flaps to go right, you want them set to channel 1 and 6 properly. So that's how I do flaperons on my model. That's my video. Video 1 of, I don't know, maybe I'll do another one someday.